Hello everybody, welcome back to Storytime. We're going to continue with Hispanic Heritage Month books, and today's book is called The Princess and the Warrior. Winner of the Pura Belpre Award, Duncan Tonatiuh. The Princess and the Warrior, a tale of two volcanoes. Once upon a time, there lived a kind and beautiful princess named Ista. Even though she was the daughter of an emperor, she loved to spend time with the people who grew corn in the milpas. She liked to teach them poetry, or flor y canto. Suitors traveled from distant lands to woo her. They presented her with rare, lavish gifts, such as quetzal feathers and turquoise necklaces. They would all say the same thing: "You are the most beautiful maiden in the land. Marry me, princess, and you will live in my luxurious palace. You won't have to spend time in the fields ever again." "No, thank you," Ista would reply. She was not interested in any of the suitors or their gifts. One day, a warrior named Popoca came to see her. "Princess, I know you have a kind and beautiful heart, for I have seen you teaching flor y canto to the villagers in the milpas. I don't have expensive gifts to offer, but if you marry me, I promise that I will love you for who you are. I will stay by your side no matter what, as long as Tonatiuh rises, as long as the sensontl bird sings." Popoca's words were music to Ista's ear. She could hear the honesty in his voice, and she fell in love with him. The emperor did not want his daughter to marry a mere soldier. He wanted her to marry a wealthy and powerful Tlatoani, a ruler. But he knew that Popoca was the best and bravest warrior in his kingdom. The emperor and his people had been at war with Jaguar Claw, the Tlatoani of a neighboring land, for years, and there seemed to be no end in sight. He called Popoca to him. "Popoca," the emperor said, "if you defeat Jaguar Claw once and for all, I will let you marry my daughter Ista." Popoca and Ista were overjoyed. Popoca gathered his most courageous men and marched to war. Popoca fought numerous battles. He and his men were injured and almost defeated many times. But when the end seemed near, Popoca would always think of Ista, waiting for his return. He would defend himself with his chimay, attack with his maquahuil, and inspire his men to fight with even more courage than before. Slowly, the tide turned, and Popoca and his men began winning battles. It was clear that they would soon defeat Jaguar Claw. Realizing this, Jaguar Claw devised a plan to steal from Popoka what the warrior cherished most. He bribed one of Popoka's personal messengers, tell Ista that Popoka has been killed, and offer her this potion, Oktli, to soothe her grief. Everything is lost, princess, the messenger said sadly when he arrived at the palace. Popoka and his men fought bravely, but they were defeated and killed. No, that cannot be, cried Ista. She locked herself in her chamber and wept, and refused to eat or speak with anyone. That night, the messenger came to her room. I know your heart is shattered, as if it were made of obsidian glass, he said. But take this drink, princess. It will help ease your grief. Ista took the potion and drank it all. Lying down on her petlatl, she fell into a deep sleep. The next day, before night fell and the first Thitlayi appeared in the sky, Popoka defeated Jaguar Claw. Unaware of the lies the messenger had told, the great warrior and his troops marched back to the palace in triumph, ready to share the good news with the princess and the emperor. But when they arrived, they were met with disbelief. Popoka, said the emperor, one of your messengers told us that you were dead. Ista was heartbroken. She took a special oktli to ease her pain, and now we cannot wake her. This can't be true, said Popoka. Ista, my beautiful princess, has to awaken. He ran to her chamber. He kissed her and held her in his arms. He called out her name over and over. But Ista did not wake up. Cool air will surely revive her, Popoka told the emperor. He carried Ista through the throngs of villagers who wept as they passed the milpas, and all through the night to the top of the tepetl. He laid her on a xochitl bed. He knelt down beside her. The cool mountain air soon turned to snow, but still the princess did not wake up. Popoka refused to move. He stayed next to Ista, just as he had promised when he first met her. As long as Tonatiuh rises, as long as the sensotl bird sings. In time, where once there was a princess with her true love by her side, two volcanoes emerged. One is known as Iztaccíhuatl, or Sleeping Woman. The other is known as Popocatépetl, or Smoky Mountain. Iztaccíhuatl continues to sleep, but Popocatépetl spews ashes and smoke from time to time, as if attempting to wake his sleeping princess. Oh, and that is the end of the story, but we do have an author's note. Iztaccíhuatl and Popocatépetl are two volcanoes located approximately 40 miles southeast of Mexico City, a city that hundreds of years ago used to be the Aztec city of Tenochtitlan. Iztaccíhuatl is dormant, but Popocatépetl is an active volcano. Its most recent eruption occurred in 2013 when it spewed ashes and fragments of fiery rock. Iztaccíhuatl, the third highest volcano in Mexico, is 17,160 feet tall. Popocatépetl is 17,802 feet tall and is the second highest volcano in Mexico and the fifth highest in North America. The name Iztaccíhuatl comes from the Nahuatl language. Iztac means white. Cihuatl means woman. The volcano is often called the sleeping woman, La Mujer Dormida, because the four peaks that form the volcano resemble the silhouette of a woman lying down, draped in a blanket of white snow. The name Popocatépetl comes from the Nahuatl word popoca, smoking, and tepetl, mountain. The volcano is often called El Popo for short, and sometimes Don Goyo, Mr. Gregory, by the villagers of the region. These two majestic volcanoes can be seen on most days by millions of people who live in Mexico City, one of the largest metropolitan areas in the world. Hundreds of years ago, the volcanoes would be seen by the Aztecs, the Tlacalans, and the different peoples who lived in the Central Valley of Mexico. The beauty and the imposing presence of the volcanoes has inspired several stories. The most famous story by far is the legend of their origin. The author of the legend is unknown. The story has been passed down orally from generation to generation for centuries. There are different variations of the story. In some versions, Popoca is an Aztec warrior who is sent to war, sometimes to Oaxaca, sometimes to Tlaxcala, while his beloved princess awaits him. In other versions, he is a Tlacalan warrior rebelling against the mighty Aztec Empire. But in all the versions, Popoca returns from war and watches ceaselessly over his beloved princess until the two of them transform into volcanoes. The story I tell in this book is my own version. I have included some of my twists and details. For instance, I chose to name Popoca's enemy Jaguar Claw because there was a famous Mixtec warrior king in the 11th century named 8th Deer Jaguar Claw, who appears in several ancient codices like the Codex Colombino, the Codex Suchenatal, and the Codex Bodley. My illustrations draw from the images in those Mixtec codices, and I want to pay tribute to them. Readers may notice how in my drawings, as in the ones from the codices, people and animals are usually drawn in profile. Their entire bodies are usually shown. Their ears often look like the number 3. Iztaccíhuatl and Popocatépetl has inspired artists for hundreds, perhaps even thousands of years. Storytellers, poets, painters, photographers, and others have created pieces of art to honor the magnificent mountains. My hope is that my story contributes to this vast tradition of art and that it introduces the volcanoes and their legend to a new generation of young readers, which is you. So that is the end of The Princess and the Warrior by Duncan Tonatiuh, who won the Pura Belpre Honor Book Medal. I hope you enjoyed the story, and I will see you in the next video.